In this video, you'll learn how to enter anticipated costs, so they're accounted for in your financial analysis of the project. As you begin the process of buying out the job, you'll inevitably have tasks that aren't yet ready for purchase orders or subcontracts. Costs you know will be incurred, for which you can't yet enter a commitment. You'll also have anticipated labor, equipment, and miscellaneous expenses. You can track these as anticipated costs. Before we enter anticipated costs, we need to go into settings to specify how anticipated costs should be handled. Go to Settings, Feature Settings, Procurement, and this first option, whether to itemize anticipated costs or summarize them by job cost code, determines what you see in the anticipated costs window. Right now, Itemize Anticipated Costs is selected. We'll leave this as it is, and we'll look at the difference between the two methods. Just remember that you must decide which option to use and set it before you enter any anticipated costs for any projects. This is important, as changing this setting removes all of your existing anticipated costs in all projects. Now we'll return to the project's procurement overview. And go to Anticipated Costs. If you don't see this cost analysis section, it means you probably have Summarize by JCC selected in that setting we just looked at. Under Actions, the options you see depend on the setting you selected. If you selected Summarize by JCC, you'll see only one option here: Import Job Cost Codes. If you selected Itemize Anticipated Costs, you can import costs from a spreadsheet, from the cost database, from an estimate, or from the job cost code list. In this video, we won't go over how to import anticipated costs from Excel, but remember that you can find the import templates in the Help Center under Getting Started. For this example, let's select Import Job Cost Codes. Select the cost codes to add. Enter the quantities to include in the package, and enter estimated unit prices. Then select the prime contract to which these apply, as well as the resource type. Now, let's say you want to include additional cost codes for a different prime contract or resource type. You would click Add to stay in this window and continue adding cost codes. Let's leave it at just these three. Click Add and close, and you'll see the anticipated costs overview. The page displays one prime contract at a time, so here you see anticipated costs for the first contract. You can also filter the list by cost code if you need to. As the project progresses, anticipated costs are eventually realized as labor and equipment timecards, miscellaneous expenses, and vendor bills not linked to a purchase order. In some cases, they might also be moved to procurement records, such as purchase orders and subcontracts that aren't created until later in the project. In order for your financial reports to give an accurate picture, each cost needs to be included either in the Anticipated Costs column, a Procurement column, or HR and Equipment columns, with no overlap. Each time a particular cost is incorporated into a procurement or self-performed cost, you need to remove it from the Anticipated Costs list, and the method for doing that depends on how your feature settings are configured. If you selected Itemize Anticipated Costs in Settings, you'll see the Accounted For column, which lets you indicate that the item has been added to a commitment such as a purchase order or subcontract. You can click Edit to modify the cost, and select the Accounted For checkbox to remove the item from anticipated cost totals. The item no longer appears in this list, because the Not Accounted For Only checkbox is selected. You can clear this checkbox to see anticipated costs that have been accounted for in the list. If you selected Summarize by JCC in Settings, you won't have the Accounted for checkbox, and you'll need to delete the anticipated cost line in order to remove it from totals. In most project financial reports, anticipated costs are included under committed costs. The exception is when you run the detailed analytic report, projected cost at completion. On that report, anticipated costs are included under project costs. In an upcoming video, we'll talk much more about project financials and analytics. In this video, you learned how to configure settings for tracking anticipated costs and how to create anticipated costs for a project.